Since 1998, Stamps.com has been an indispensable tool for nearly 1 million businesses. Stamps.com brings the services of the U.S. Postal Service and UPS shipping right to your computer. Whether you're an office sending invoices, a side hustle Etsy shop, or a full-blown warehouse shipping out orders, Stamps.com will make your life easier. All you need is a computer and a standard printer. No special supplies or equipment. Within minutes, you're up and running, printing off official postage for any letter, any package, anywhere you want to send. And you'll get exclusive discounts on postage and shipping from USPS and UPS. Once your mail is ready, you just schedule a pickup or drop it off. No traffic, no lines. Cut the confusion out of shipping with Stamps.com's new Rate Advisor tool. You can compare shipping rates and timelines and easily find your best option. Save time and money with Stamps.com. There's no risk, and with my promo code POD, that's P-O-D, you get a special offer that includes a 4-week trial plus free postage and a digital scale. No long-term commitments, no contracts. Just go to Stamps.com, click on the microphone at the top of the homepage, and type in POD. That's Stamps.com, promo code POD. Stamps.com. Never go to the post office again.
When you're done listening to this podcast, check out mine. My name is Dave, and I'm the host of Beer in Front. My podcast is just enjoying the beer that's in front of you. Sometimes we forget about a classic beer while we focus on the new trendy thing. What I try to do each week is to enjoy an old school classic or have a beer that has potential to be a classic. I'll also talk about events of the day, I'll add my spin to things, and each week there are people that really annoy me, and I'll call them out as the jag-off of the week. That's Beer in Front, available wherever you listen to podcasts.
The podcast you are about to listen to contains at least one of the following: strong language, disturbing topics, abusive opinions, generally things that aren't appropriate for little kids or overly sensitive people. So, if any of that stuff's going to get your nose out of joint, this is your chance to turn it off. Welcome to I Had to Say It, the podcast where I talk about things that I feel need talking about, and sometimes they're not getting the attention they deserve. And your feelings, they're not under consideration. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of I Had to Say It. Today we are going to be discussing a few short, simple things, not one long, drawn-out topic this time. So if that's what you were looking for, sorry. Hopefully you'll find something else in the back catalog. There's a lot of stuff there at this point. Go check it out. First and foremost, again, sticking with that formula of you're supposed to do the stuff at the beginning, apparently, instead of at the end. Just want to say, thank you for listening. Check out the show. Tell your friends. Check out the website. Check out the merch links. If you want to help support the show, you can buy me a coffee. There is a Patreon. Nobody ever has signed up for it yet, so honestly, there's not a lot there. If I get some people that actually express some interest in it, I promise I will start putting stuff there to make it worth, sending a few bucks that way. There's a Discord server. There'll be access to, more direct access to me. And you get to help support me ranting and raving and venting my spleen. Pretty much any money that does come from either the Buy Me a Coffee or the Patreon stuff is going to go back into buying hardware. At this point, I need to upgrade my microphone. I'd like to upgrade some of my other stuff, and then, more stuff to give away, stickers, merches, all that stuff. I mean, I really want to start doing more giveaways and contests and audience engagement type stuff. But unfortunately, I am doing this on a budget, so that's there if anybody wants to do that. And as much as I hate doing those kind of plugs, I do want to grow the show, and these are kind of the steps I need to do to follow the people who have successfully grown their shows. So, thank you for the indulgence, thank you for listening, thank you for the support. Now, to get to the meat and potatoes of what we are here to talk about. And there's been, a lot of it kind of sounds repetitious. It's the same dumb shit keeps happening. People aren't learning. People are not, I keep saying, we should be doing better. We could be doing better. There's no reason we shouldn't be better. Being good to each other, being kind, being forgiving, being understanding, being sympathetic. You don't have to like somebody. You don't have to agree with somebody to show them a little decency and a little, just a little sympathy. Just to be a halfway decent person. To not be a fuckhead. to simply step back and acknowledge that, hey, just because I feel this way does not mean everybody else in the world is going to feel exactly the same way. To realize your beliefs are not necessarily so frickin' perfect that everyone else should be on board with your shit. And I've gotten a couple little like, well, you're always telling people they should be on board with your shit. The only reason I say that, and I say it without the hint of irony or hypocrisy, is because being on board with my shit just means leaving everybody else the fuck alone. That's really not doing anything beyond saying my beliefs are my beliefs, and that's what I hold to. I hold to the beliefs that as long as you're not hurting anybody else, what you're doing is really nobody else's fucking business either. And yeah, I believe everyone should live that way, because everybody that's constantly whining about fairness or equality or any of this other shit doesn't have that tenet in their life as a general rule. It is the most fair and unilateral way of dealing with conflicts and stress and strife. And we would all be a lot more relaxed if we just learned to mind our fucking own. To realize that what we are dealing with, what we are doing, is our business, nobody else's. But that also applies to them. What they're doing is none of our fucking business. Unless it directly impacts your day-to-day life, your well-being, your health, your livelihood, it's none of your fucking ever mind. Mind your business. I've said it so many times. I feel like it could be a tattoo on my forehead at this point with how much I'm trying to drive this into people's skulls. But it really is. If you can legitimately learn to let go, to let other people live their best life, to let other people have all the same rights and dignities that you yourself fucking expect from them, we would all be a lot happier. Life would be a lot easier for all of us. If we realize that other people's shit is none of our concern, other people's happiness, as long as it doesn't involve hurting someone else, as long as it does not do harm or damage to another person, it should not be anyone else's fucking concern. If it does not directly impact your life, what difference does it fucking make? I mean, I feel like a broken record going on and on about this shit, but people just don't seem to fucking get it. And realistically, maybe that's why we need to spread the word. Maybe that's why we need to spread the love. That's why people need to hear this show. That's why people that you don't agree with, maybe you can find some common ground here and realize, look, I have my thoughts, you have your thoughts. It doesn't mean we have to force our thoughts onto each other, because ultimately that's what it boils down to. Nobody's going to agree with, oh, you know what, you are right and I'm wrong. It's not in our nature. So, anyway, I'm allowing myself to get completely sidetracked from what I was planning on talking about. And it's been kind of an interesting week as far as things go. I've had some other stuff coming up. There's a quick little shout out to the Bleach Bros podcast. I just recorded an episode with them this week. It was a blast. We had a lot of fun. It was a good talk. These guys, B-Word and Jake, they're fucking hilarious. These guys have a great show, great program, great chemistry. Really cool guys to talk to once I got to actually sit down and, shoot the shit with them for a couple hours. And I think the episode, maybe it's like an hour and a half. And I think we talked for almost 3 hours. So it was pretty cool. 2.5, 3 hours, something like that. And it was a really good time. It was very cool as far as I'm concerned. And I really hope you check it out and enjoy it. Again, that's Bleach Brothers. I got to update the website. I've got a lot more stuff I need down there, but those links will be coming soon. I'm a little behind again on that. I apologize to anybody that actually does go to ihadtosayitpodcast.com, and all the contact stuff and everything still works, so you can still email me, you can still call me, you can text or whatever social media you want on there. All the links are there if you want to get a hold of me, if you want to talk to me, if you want to know where I stand on something, if you got something you think I should do an episode about, please feel free to let me know. And so, getting into the meat and potatoes of the fucking week, what can we tell you? Shortages are happening again. Social media has basically stuck to their guns and doubled down on, we're going to tell you what you should think, instead of giving you a platform to have discussions and exchange knowledge and trade your thoughts. We're going to tell you what's true and what's not, and you have to believe it because we have independent fact checkers. The problem is, you're paying these fact checkers, which puts the veracity and the independent part really into question. And I'm saying this because, I have a chip on my shoulder because I got flagged recently. I had a comment of mine reported in a group. It was a joke that I thought was funny. Pretty much everybody else in the group thought it was funny. And somebody decided, instead of talking to the group admins or anything like that, decided to report the comment to Facebook, and I got put in Facebook probation. I can't say full Facebook jail. And personally, I really, if I didn't have the podcast and if I didn't have certain family members who that's literally the only way they communicate with me these days, I wouldn't give less of a fuck, because Facebook to me is just such a toxic environment. It is, for my own personal preferences, it's there. Yeah, you can find some stupid funny memes on there, and there's some stuff, and it's nice to be able to see what my family's been up to and what my friends that I don't get to see very often anymore because they're multiple states away or whatever. It's kind of nice to be able to keep up with them. But the community groups, by and wide, have become these like toxic echo chambers where whoever happens to be controlling the group sets the tone, and it becomes just these shitty, ridiculous environments. And if you're not on board the team, it's like little microcosms of fucking high school. It's little cliquey groups, and there's all kinds of stupid shit. And I'm one of those people. You really can't bully me because I don't give a fuck what you think of me. And of course, here I'm using the royal we. If you're listening to me, I hope you guys like me. But if you don't, you know what? I'm still going to sleep at night. I'm not going to be all butthurt or sensitive about it. And I think we could honestly use a little bit more of that in our society these days. I think a lot of, outside of the whole participation trophy generation being generally weak and soft to begin with, all these people who have become so convinced that being offended is some sort of actionable state. Being offended is your fucking problem. That's a you problem. That's not a world problem. That's something you need to fucking deal with. If you're hurt, if you're violated in a real way, a tangible way, a physical way, that is a legitimate thing to be upset about. That is a legitimate, actionable thing. But if you are offended by something, particularly if it's something that is not directly involving you, but there's been a lot of controversy recently surrounding the new Dave Chapelle stand-up thing. I'm sure Dave will never hear this, but Dave, love you. Always been a big fan. You can go back to the early Dave Chapelle stand-up episodes. Yeah, I'm that one scary white guy hanging out with the Hood brothers. Nice to meet you. Yeah, you're right to be afraid of us. But beyond that, I kid, but I do respect Dave, and he puts it right out there. He's honest. He's saying, okay, here's my issues. And blah, blah, blah. And, come and try and cancel me. Come and get me. And, of course, everybody rises to the bait. Oh, well, that offended me. No one should be able to hear that because that leads to violence. And here's the thing. There are going to be people out there with shitty attitudes regardless of whether the stand-up exists or not. And there was a time when you could joke about things and people could say, hey, I don't like that, and I don't agree with that, and it could lead to a conversation or a discourse. But it wasn't a matter of, since I don't agree with this, it cannot exist. And now people seem to think that they are entitled to some sort of right where they can decide what is appropriate based on their own personal shit. And, part of it goes to, and without getting into a real deep philosophical assessment of where we're at as a society, because, I'm much more better at shallow, petty assessments of where we're at as a society. And as far as that shallow, petty assessment goes, it's on a really well-oiled slide heading towards a giant fucking dumpster fire. And it's not that I necessarily think everything was so great back when, but we've got these soft-ass, super delicate people who think something that upsets them cannot exist because if it bothers them, it can't be right, and they have to destroy whatever it is that conflicts with their ideas, their beliefs, or their self-identities. And here's my catch with that. Here's what this, now 7 or 8 minutes of rambling is leading to. If your identity and your person, and I'm not using identity in this necessarily in terms of, a orientation or a necessarily a gender or sexual concept, more as an overall personality, the assessment, the core of who you are. And if the core of who you are is so fragile and so susceptible to damage that somebody saying something that you don't agree with can shatter it and destroy it and ruin it and make you fall apart, you really need to reassess yourself. You need to spend some quality time with you instead of focusing on the rest of the fucking world, and you need to build up a little inner strength and a little focus. And this is not a popular concept these days, which is part of the fucking problem. People are way too quick to say the rest of the world has to accommodate me and has to protect me, and I don't need to deal with slings and arrows and atrocities and horrible things. And I don't think anybody should be suffering violence based on any of the superficial, non-controllable character traits. But if you're a whiny, pay attention to me, satisfy me, and self-serve me at the expense of what you feel, your comfort levels, or your beliefs, you're a fuckstick. You're guilty of the same shit you're accusing everyone else of. I don't do hypocrisy. I can't do hypocrisy. I'm not wired that way. The problem is way too many people today are. And yes, I'm being a judgy prick about this because at the end of the day, if you are any one of the alphabet people, I'm not going to judge you based on that. I'm not going to hold you in any other ill will or ill regard than I would anybody else. I'm going to hold you to the exact same fucking standard I hold everyone else to. And that is what equality is. It is not saying you are delicate and needed to be treated differently. It's saying you deserve to be treated the same as everyone fucking else. I don't necessarily agree with all these people that are saying, okay, well, this is right and this is wrong and that is this and that is that. What I'm saying is you deserve equality, regardless of how you identify, regardless of what you feel as, regardless of any of these little asterisks that people want to put behind their status, behind how they identify, behind how they feel. However, equality means you're subject to the same bullshit as everybody else. Not you're above the bullshit, or you don't have to deal with the bullshit, or the bullshit can't exist because it offends your fucking tender little sensibilities. It means you get the same shit as everybody else, and you get to eat it just like everybody else fucking does. And I generally try to avoid bringing up the fact that I pretty much tick the box on everything that is still considered socially acceptable to give shit to. And a few things that it's not. I mean, I've gone off on my tears about how all these people that are, trying to say, oh, you're fat shaming. Fuck yes, because I am concerned about health and well-being. And the documented facts are, you are not going to live as good of a quality life. I can attest to this from my own personal experiences. Being beyond a certain degree, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with being a little extra heavy. I personally like my personal attraction is I like some curves and I like some thickness and I like padding in the right places. Without getting too much into that shit, there's a difference between that and saying people are treating you differently because you're morbidly obese. No, your heart is going to fucking give out, and saying that is not being fat phobic. That is a medical fact. Your doctor telling you you need to lose weight so you don't fucking die is not discriminatory. It's medical science. When your arteries are coated with plaque from your unhealthy living style and your shit habits, it's not discrimination. It's not being persecuted. It's not a phobia. You simple-minded, soft, thin-skinned fucks. It's just the way it is. It's a fact. How you feel about it doesn't make it less factual. The fact that you don't want to fucking hear it doesn't make it less factual. And I'm saying that particular one because that's the box where I can check it, that I am subject to these things that people want to call discrimination and want to call fear and phobia and all this other shit. I am a very heavyweight guy that is really in a bad position from a health standpoint, and I'm fully aware of this fact. I'm a little unhappy that I got to spend extra money on clothes because I got to buy a 5 fucking X, but you know what? I'm also cognizant of the fact that there's more material in that shirt than there are in some full pairs of pants. So, yeah, it makes sense that it costs more. It's not persecution. It's not discrimination. It's simple fucking economics. The other side of the coin is a lot of these people don't understand simple fucking economics either. the general mentality of these snowflake fucks of, I need to be protected, I need to be taken care of, I need to be treated differently because how I'm treated doesn't make me feel as good as I think I should. It's not about equality, and that's where I'm getting hung up on this shit. All these different groups, all these different special interest associations and organizations, and all these people that are literally, their business is to sow fucking division and to highlight all these things and say, this is not acceptable because it is not equal treatment. The problem is, a lot of the things people are bitching about, it's not inequality. It's not being treated differently. It's being treated the same as every fucking body else. Because if you're getting more material in your shirt, it should cost more. It's not discrimination that a petite size costs less than a plus size. There's different materials used. There's different quantities involved. There's different amounts of work involved. You need to get the fuck over yourself. And I'm not just singling out the big people in this one. I'm not trying to single out the alphabet mafia or anybody else. I'm not discriminating against anybody. I'm talking about literally every single person on this fucking planet who has got it in their head that they need to be protected. And I'm not in any way, shape, or form advocating treating these people harshly. I'm staunchly anti-bully. When I found out my kid was getting picked on, my exact response was, you take that bully, you fuck that kid up, and then we're going to go for ice cream and go watch a movie or something. I don't care if you get suspended. If you get expelled for defending yourself, we will find you another school and you will go back to class. You will get your education and you will be fine. You will not get in trouble for defending yourself. I don't think anyone should get in trouble for defending themselves. I also do not think anyone on the planet is entitled to special treatment or special behavior. You want to be the same as everybody else, you take your fucking lumps just like everybody else does too. As soon as you start saying, I need to be protected, I need to be defended, you're part of the fucking problem at that point. You're fostering division. And I don't care what the why behind it is, other than the fact that when you're saying I need to be protected from these shitty people, you're not addressing the shitty people. You're saying these things that you're creating a division. Instead of saying I'm just like everybody else, you're saying I'm not like everybody else, and that's why I need to be special. I need to be treated differently. I need to be protected. You need to thicken up your skin. You need to take your fucking lumps, and you need to stand up for your fucking selves. That doesn't mean attacking other people's livelihoods or attacking other people's well-beings or saying you can't say that about me. It's saying I am strong enough in who I am, and I have a solid enough core and a solid enough identity that I don't give a shit what you say about me because you don't fucking matter to me. And I understand to a certain extent where people are saying, oh, well, this encourages this kind of attitude and this, that, and that, and the other. And here's the catch about that. Trying to eliminate people from having that attitude isn't going to change the attitude. Trying to say you can't talk about that because it hurts my feelings is never going to approach somebody's mind when you're doing it in a way that resembles a toddler throwing a fucking tantrum. If you want people to change their lives, if you want to affect real, lasting fucking change in society, you have to start acting like a goddamn adult. You can't keep walking around acting like a spoiled child who didn't get their fucking way and expect to sit at the big kids' table. It's never going to happen. And granted, the big kids' table has been skewed and biased for quite a while. Generations, fucking centuries in some cases, depending on which facet of it you're looking at. But here's the thing. Cultures shift, taboos change, things change. You go back to pre-Christian era, and a lot of shit that people are all bent out of shape today saying, oh, well, we're finally taking our rights and we would demand to be treated equal. I hate to tell you this, but there was a time pre-Christianity or even pre-general Christian expansion, let's call it. You look at Huns and heathens, and a lot of the stuff people are bent out of shape about today was not a big fucking deal all that long ago. So you get these groups that are stumping around encouraging discrimination and encouraging bias and all this other things, and we wind up with this knee-jerk reaction of, well, they're encouraging discrimination and bias, let's fight that with more discrimination and fucking bias. And then you wonder why nobody wants to jump on your side of the trampoline. The thing is, it's not that I disagree with people's messages. I don't think anybody should be treated shittily. And if you've listened to the show more than once, you should already fucking know that. But at the end of the day, it's all about delivery. It's all about approach. And I can relate this into so many other things where I've dealt with. I've TV shows I've watched that had amazing concepts that had shitty delivery, and they didn't last. Conversely, there are shows out there that I thought the premise behind them were fucking ridiculous that are on like their 12th fucking season because they're executed very well. I think they're personally, I think they're stupid, but obviously they're doing something right if they're getting now on the other side of that hand. Again, talking about society slipping and, reality TV and celebrity stars and all this other shit. People that are famous for nothing other than being on TV for nothing, for being famously fucking stupid. And the people trying to hop on board that trend, which, I've influencers and, oh, look at me, I'm Instagram famous. Well, you know what? Whoop-de-fucking do for you. And realistically, like I said, this is all symptomatic. It's all grander things. And people are stupid, and people want to feel justified, and they get into these social media echo chambers, and, oh, yeah, no, you're so right. Everybody else is so fucking wrong. Look at us. We're right. And they get this false building up. They get this concept that because they found a set of other people that think and feel and act the same way they do, that somehow all of a sudden it's right. And it's kind of that whole... I can't remember the book at the moment. I've got a lot going on. References aren't exactly coming super clear to me these days. How can I say I'm getting fucking old? But at the end of the day, there's a thing, I read it somewhere and I can't remember what it was, but it's one of those things when you're on the outside looking in at something and you start looking for other people that are on the outside too, and eventually some weird transformation happens where there's enough outsiders where all of a sudden you're on the inside. And that's where people start feeling good. I think it was in relationship to people that were like social outcasts and getting drawn into cults and things like that. It was, the context eludes me at the moment, but I remember the quote. And it says, if there's enough of us on the outside, eventually the outside becomes the inside. And I understand people are looking for validation. People are looking to external influences to try and make themselves feel whole, to fill some gap in their life. And again, I feel like as a society, without going too deeply into the tin hat conversation today, just looking at logistics and looking at history and looking at things like controlling cultures, controlling populations, without getting off on too much of a tear into the whole organized religion thing, these are all facets of control. Tell people a certain thing, get them to believe a certain thing, get them to feel a certain way. All of these things are kind of a group think. You have to be accepted by everyone. Everyone has to be on the same mindset. And all of it breaks down self-worth and self-belief and self-trust and self-esteem and having a solid core of who I am. What is my identity without all these other miserable fucks? Without everybody else's opinion? Who am I? And way too many people can't answer that question comfortably. They can't answer it with anything they want to own up to, because for whatever reason, the way they feel about themselves is severely fucking lacking. And so the things they are trying to own and trying to be part of are these fragile, tenuous concepts and fragile, super easily damaged things. And instead of saying, I need to strengthen myself, they want everything else to be weakened and to be fragile and to collapse. And unfortunately, it's leading to cultural status where we are becoming so very fragile and where things are so easily damaged. And just to put it into a parallel of literally anything else in the world, there's not a lot of worth to things that are easily destroyed. And, I mean, shy of things like, say, a candy bar or something of that nature, you don't want something that's going to collapse as soon as a breeze comes along and tears it apart. You don't want something that's going to dissolve the first time it gets rained on. And realistically, we need to get away from that. We need to start working on ourselves. I mean, we still need to better the world as a whole, but you can't change the whole without having a solid base, without having a solid foundation to build on. What you build will never last. And the problem is, everybody is trying to fix things from the top up. They are trying to say, the world needs to change, and instead of changing myself, the world needs to change to accommodate me. I don't need to be better. Everything else needs to be easier. And nothing built with that mindset will ever last. That's not a permanent fixture. That's not a permanent structure. That's not permanent change. And we need to get away from the idea that having self-confidence, believing in yourself, and standing behind who you are at your core is, in a lot of cases, it's frowned upon. It's looked down upon because you're being told you're selfish. You're being told that you're not putting other people's needs first. You're not worrying about everybody else. And you shouldn't be. Because until you fix yourself, you can't do anything for anybody else. Not anything meaning. Not anything significant. Not anything with any real lasting power can be done by somebody who can't first be a solid, permanent fixture themselves. If you can't have your solid identity, if you can't say, this is who I am, I'm strong in what I believe, I'm strong in my convictions, I'm strong in my fortitude, without some sort of external justification, without somebody else telling you you're okay and you're right and what you're doing is good. If you're looking for all your identity and all your verification and all your strength and your existence to come from external influences and external sources, you have nothing at that point. You can't build off of nothing. You cannot. It's a house of mirror and fogs, I believe it is the expression. I don't know. I'm having some focusing issues these days, but the point being, until you're solid in who you are, until you have enough fortitude to say, you know what, you said that, but it doesn't apply to me because that's your fucking issue, not mine. That's something you believe. It doesn't make it true about me. If you can't stand on those grounds and say fuck you really got nothing to go with. Yeah, so anyway, that's just kind of what's been rolling around in my mind these days here. In a side note, quick little jab out there to the people that are still praying at the altar of the state. I saw a retweet here. Somebody was quoting Elizabeth Warren, who I think is she's way overhyped, and people think she's this possible next godsend of a fucking leftist who's going to stand up for the little guy and all this other shit. And she recently let one fly at Amazon because I guess Amazon's social media manager said something about her directly, and she's all like, oh, well, I'm going to come after you. I'm going to tear down. And she lists off all this shit that she's going to go after Amazon for, which is nothing but a sheet of bullet points, of talking points that somebody put together about all the things that the left doesn't like about big corporate America and all the business practices that Amazon's partaking in that we think we need to call them out for. And she went through the bullet points, and she went through the list, and then her final statement was, I'm going to show you can't come after a senator, or something to that effect. I don't know. I don't really give the bitch too much attention because I think she's full of shit. Everybody's sitting there like, yeah, go get him. You guys poke the bear, blah, 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 blah. This bitch's concern was not that they're doing all these shit to their employees. She was using that as a rallying cry to build support for herself. If you look at it with a critical eye, her point was you can't call up a public official for doing something you don't agree with. And unfortunately, the vast majority of these elected assholes seem to think that's how it works. They think they're not accountable to the people who fucking elected them. They think they don't owe anybody a fucking thing. And as much as these assholes want to talk about how, we're not here to serve you and blah, 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 their corporate masters are the ones that are paying them. And they put up a whole lot of a front. They will put on a real good show to try and keep the masses entertained, but they're not going to change a fucking thing. They're not going to kill the fatted calf. They are not going to be biting the hand that feeds them. They are not going to sit there and jeopardize the fatted teat. There is a reason why they go into a salary that's a six-figure salary and after a career come out multimillionaires. They should not be able to do that on what they're earning by and wide. There's a lot of shit going on in this country. They're not going to fucking jeopardize that. They're going to put enough of a show of dog and pony, look at me, woo, 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 I'm for you guys, and nothing's going to fucking change because it's a crock of shit. Maybe the social media manager will get fired from this bitch running her mouth. She's not going to tear the company down. She's not going to tear apart one of the biggest companies in the world at this point. She doesn't have the position to do it as much as she wants to act like she does. She's not some champion for the people. She's another fucking parasite that's out there doing a half-assed job, is calling it generous. This worthless bitch and every other worthless fuck stain on in national politics. Everybody that's doing anything above a local level is pretty much fucking useless as far as I'm concerned. They're all parasites. None of them, they don't treat the people like they're there for us. We're there for them and their mindset, and that's never going to fucking change until we actually tear the system down. But I'm not going to get off on that tear. There's no real way to fix this problem, shy of getting rid of the entire fucking bunch of them. And there are legislations that could be put into place that would remedy this real fucking quick. Simple stuff like term limits, aging out of the process. If you are too old to be hired as a Walmart fucking greeter, you should not be voting on policies that will dictate how this country is run. Period. Point blank. End of story. This country was not founded by a bunch of fucking septuagenarians who had lived their lives and were in their golden fucking years. It was founded by a bunch of guys that were in their 30s and 40s, because that was just how it was. Those were the guys who were doing things, who were out there actually in the world and had some sort of sense. These people that are in the positions of power now need to fuck off and go into the golden years and ride off into the fucking sunset and leave the rest of us to deal with the world. They had their time. It's fucking over. It's fucking done. They should be gone. So let's set term limits. Let's say, if a public figure's caught taking a bribe or taking money from a special interest group, they go to jail. Not, they get called out, they get censured, any of that shit. No, you give back every penny you're found to be taking, and you go to fucking prison, and not club fed either. I mean big boy jail. I mean, you go somewhere with a bunch of guys that stab somebody and they have a fucking eyeball tattoo, okay? These are the guys you should be hanging out with if you're selling out the fucking country to aggrandize yourself. It'll never happen because, unfortunately, to get these laws in place, the very fuckers who would be cutting their own throats would have to approve them. And so it's never going to happen. That's why I don't mind talking about it. I don't feel like, people are going to say, they're going to come for you. No, they're not, because they don't have anything to worry about. They're fully aware of what needs to be done to put them out of business. And they know it's not going to happen, because as long as we're playing by the rules and we're following the policies and we're sitting there saying, we want to have these laws approved, they have to approve them. They're not going to fucking do it. So it doesn't matter. And, using and working within the system, it's the way things should be done. In a perfect world, that's how it would be done. But do I think it's going to be effective? I'm not holding my fucking breath. And, looking at the clock here, it seems like I've about hit where I need to be as far as I've rambled on enough for now. So, thanks for listening, and I guess for now, that's what I had to say. Thanks for listening to another episode of I Had to Say It. If you liked what you heard, leave a review, give us a follow, give me some feedback. And if you didn't like what you heard, leave a review, give me a follow, give me some feedback. I'll try and fix it. Check us out on all the social media platforms at I Had to Say It Podcast is the trigger for all that stuff, for the search term. And if you want, check out the website, www.ihadtosayitpodcast.com. There's links to people that have been involved with the program, things I've talked about. There are some links available for some merch that we're working on, and there are ways to contact us there as well. And thanks for listening, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.